In every single workplace, there's a certain type of person. Someone who's absolutely critical for survival, but almost always gets a bad rap. And I bet you have someone on your team right now who fits this exact profile. So today, we're going to call them the corporate hyena, and we are going to completely change how you see them. Now, seriously, for a second, what's the first image that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably something straight out of a Disney movie, and let's be honest, it's not a pretty picture. Yup, there it is. The cackling, cowardly, sneaky villain, always lurking in the shadows, waiting to steal something. I mean, the hyena has a huge cultural PR problem, and it's created this really powerful, negative stereotype that's just so hard to shake. Okay, so let's bring this back to the office. That same stereotype, that same kind of gut reaction, we project it all the time onto certain people at work. You know the ones. They always seem to show up right when things are getting messy. They get slopped with labels like aggressive or too direct, maybe harsh, or they just get that reputation of being the one who's always around when stuff goes wrong. But here's the thing. Today, we're going to completely dismantle that myth. We're going to show you why these people aren't the villains at all. In fact, they might just be one of your most valuable, most protective assets. So, to do that, let's start by looking at what hyenas are really like in the wild. Because, trust me, the reality is way more impressive than the fiction we've all been fed. I mean, just look at the difference here. The myth is they're cowardly thieves, but the reality, they live in these incredibly complex, female-dominated social clans. They're actually powerful predators in their own right. And maybe most importantly, they are the essential cleanup crew for their entire ecosystem. And get this, they are uniquely physically built for this job. A bite force of 1,100 psi. That's strong enough to crush large bones. They can literally crack open and deal with things that no other animal on the savannah can touch. They find value where everyone else just sees garbage. That's their superpower. And this quote just nails it. They are the crisis managers. They don't create the ugly situations. They show up when things are already ugly to contain the mess. And by doing that, they keep the entire system from falling apart. So let's bring that idea back to your team. Because this exact same function exists in our organizations, and it's performed by people you probably work with every single day. Just think about it for a second. Who on your team runs toward the fire, not away from it? Who's the person that seems weirdly calm when everything is hitting the fan? These are the folks who go where things are already broken, who clean up the mess after months of everyone else pretending it wasn't there. I love this term. They are your organizational bone crushers. They take on those gnarled, messy, complex problems that would break anybody else. They don't look away just because it's ugly. They lean in and start chewing. So really, what they are is your crisis immune system. By confronting the things that nobody else wants to touch, they stop the toxicity from spreading. They prevent little problems from becoming massive, catastrophic explosions. In a very real way, they protect the organization from itself. Okay, so if these people are so valuable, what's the problem? Well, the problem isn't the hyena profile. The problem is how leadership constantly, and I mean consistently, misreads and mismanages them, turning this incredible asset into what they see as a threat. So the first big mistake, and we've all seen this one, is we use them way too late. They're the ones flagging a risk early on, and we tell them, oh, don't be so negative, right? We dismiss them. And then, when it all blows up, who's the first person we call? Them. Suddenly, they're on the phone 24/7. And the second mistake, this one's even more damaging. We actually punish them for doing the very thing that protects us. So when they challenge a comfortable but really dangerous illusion, we don't say, thank you for your courage. Nope, we label them aggressive or not a team player. And number 3 is we burn them out. We treat them like they're indestructible. We just throw them from one high-stress crisis to the next with no time to recover, no real support, and definitely not enough recognition. We essentially treat them as disposable shock absorbers. And we need to be really, really clear about this. This isn't just a case of bad management. It's an inclusion issue. Because far too often, these thankless high-stress roles are filled by women and professionals of color whose resilience ends up being exploited instead of truly valued. And that just undermines any real effort at creating an inclusive workplace. Okay, so that's the problem. The big question is, how do we fix it? How do you actually shift from misusing these vital people to managing them intelligently and really harnessing their incredible power for the good of the whole organization? Well, the fix isn't some quick hack. It requires a real strategy. It's about turning them from your last-ditch emergency call into a sustainable strategic asset. And that journey really starts with just naming their role, acknowledging their protective function. And this is crucial, involving them before the fires start, not just after. And this right here, this is the golden rule. You have to set this boundary clearly. Their job is to be tough on problems, not on people. You absolutely need their courage, you need their directness, but that is never, ever a license for humiliation or contempt. And that has to be non-negotiable. All right, now let's make this practical. It's time to turn this lens back on your own team, on your own company. I want you to take a moment and actually think about this. Who are they? Who are the people you call when everything has gone completely sideways? The ones who are strangely good in the middle of chaos? Go ahead, put a name or maybe a few names to this profile. Okay, now be really honest with yourself. What's the story that's being told about them in the organization? Are they celebrated as guardians who protect everyone? Or are they just quietly labeled as troublemakers, as villains, or maybe just difficult? Because that story you tell matters more than you think. And this is the final and maybe the most important question of all. Just imagine for a second that those people, they just stopped. They stopped pointing out the uncomfortable risks. They stopped cleaning up the messes. They just stopped caring. What would happen? If that thought makes you even a little bit uncomfortable, well, that's where your real work as a leader truly begins.